Welcome, everybody. My name's Jim Britts. I'm out in San Diego County, and I've been a part of the DMM tribe for, I think, about almost 2.5 years now. It's gone by really quickly. And one of the things I've learned that probably many of you have as well, if you've been doing this for a little while, is that DMM is not really so much just a strategy or a method. It's a lifestyle of disciple making. And really, it's asking the question, first of all, am I a disciple worth multiplying? You have to ask that question first. Would we want more of me, and how I'm making disciples? And when it comes to living a lifestyle, and for me, it meant changing my lifestyle. It really comes down to habits, right? The more habits that you shift, the more your whole lifestyle changes. And so as we talk about living out disciple making movements, what I found is it's really as simple as, hey, how do you for yourself change some of the habits and incorporate disciple making habits in your life? And how do you help other people do that as well? And as Susie shared, we're talking for several weeks, and really the whole goal of what we do on Wednesdays here, but we're talking about multiplying extraordinary prayer. And let me just talk just for a second about extraordinary prayer, and then I'm going to share a real practical thing about how do we multiply that. But let me just ask a question, and I want you to unmute yourself and answer this, and I want you to state it, not explain it. So we're looking for one sentence answers. But hey, what habits have you begun that have helped you have extraordinary prayer in your life? Meaning you've grown your prayer life, maybe even specifically since starting DMM. Even if you're going, hey, that's a no-brainer, unmute yourself and just share it. Hey, I started doing this, and share it in like a sentence. What do we got?
I started prayer walks in my neighborhood.
Fantastic. Prayer walks.
Writing my prayers out word for word.
Oh, that's great.
At the encouragement of Michael Sobe, I've started saying in our Facebook, instead of praying, typing out a prayer right then and there.
Oh, that's great.
Intentional fasting and prayer on Fridays.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Fasting and prayer in the morning. Yeah.
Awesome.
I started participating in half-night prayer meetings regularly.
Yeah.
We've got a core team that is in the middle of a 30-day prayer and fasting going on right now.
Sweet.
Getting up earlier to join others in prayer. Corporate prayer.
Yeah, awesome.
I added the 10:02 and 9:38 alarms on my phone to pray for the Lord of the harvest to send workers out to the harvest field.
Love it.
I actually started using the prayer calendar.
Great. Good. Well, you can add stuff that you've learned as I share about it too. Well, great. Hey, that's an awesome list of things that we've shared. If I had to summarize it for me, here's some things that I hope, if you have been starting to go, man, I want to see a movement happen in my area, that you would first of all go, hey, I am praying a lot more than I used to. And if that's not happening, I want to say, hey, probably stop some of the stuff you're doing now and start praying more, because for sure that's part of it. And praying with people more. If you're going, man, I'm praying a lot, but I'm just kind of holed out in my living room, man, I've sure found for me, I pray with people way more than I used to. So corporate prayer is a big deal. And then praying for people more, of actually being there with them and praying for them on the spot. Man, I'm doing that way more than I ever used to. And a lot of people mentioned fasting. I would say that as well, is fasting became not a special event, but it became a rhythm in my life. And I've seen ministry like crazy overflows as you pray. Yesterday we had a family over for dinner. We've hung out a ton at their house, and we're like, they need to come to our house. But we met them from prayer walking. This woman named Milena, who I'd shared before, and she spoke Spanish. We spoke English, but she had us over to her house. And when we were over to her house, this was a couple months ago, she said, hey, will you pray? My husband has not worked for several months. He's a painter. Will you pray for that? And we said, yes. And then we actually really prayed for her then in the next couple of days. And 2 days later, she called and said, you won't believe it. My husband got 2 jobs today. He hasn't gotten any for over 30. This is incredible what we're in. And Milena and her family is a person of peace. And it came because God supernaturally, answered a prayer, and God's doing great things in their group. And they were at our house yesterday, and still they speak Spanish. and I'm on day 205 in Duolingo streak. Man, I'm in a radically different place than I was of even people that I hang out with. This last week, I've started a habit over the last month of going through. I have just tons of contacts in my phone. I've never deleted names out of it until now, and I do 25 names a week where I'll just text and go, "Hey, this is Jim. Is this still your number? How are you?" And I'm just started letter D, and I'm well over 100 in on people that I haven't talked to for at least a couple of years. And every week I have these incredible conversations with people and connect with them. One of them was a guy named Caesar just a couple of days ago, and he said, "Jim, yeah, I'm doing pretty well." And I said, "Well, anything I could pray for you for?" And he said, "Actually, I just was asked to lead a Bible study at my work." So I'm like, "Okay, you're still walking with God. That's good." And he said, "But I have no idea what to do. Most of these people don't know Jesus. Any thoughts?" What a softball pitch, right? I mean, we hung out a couple of days ago, walked him through Discovery Bible Study. A group has started because he's like, "Okay, now I know what to do." So God's setting stuff up. And when we pray, we get to jump into what he's up to. We all know this. We're all changed our prayer lives. We're seeing stuff happen. Here's the part that I get to talk about that I found has been much harder. So extraordinary prayer has challenged me. The multiplying extraordinary prayer has frustrated me. Anybody, show of hands, been frustrated with trying to multiply extraordinary prayer? It's like, okay, I can do it. Why can't all you people get it with me? Anybody ever been at a prayer gathering with others in your group on Zoom or in person, and this is confession time, and you're the only one that showed up? Anybody been there yet? Okay, there's a couple. Most of you guys are better than I am, but I've been at some and like, what in the world? I'm like the worst at multiplying extraordinary prayer. And I got this tool we're going to walk through from a new friend of mine named Paul Watson. David Watson is his dad, who's like kind of the king of DMM, one of the guys that started, and has been on this call with us. And but Paul shared with me, he said, hey, he differentiates. He says there's encouraging extraordinary prayer and there's multiplying extraordinary prayer. And most times we just encourage. It's encouraging is when you're asking, inviting, or announcing for people to pray. And I'm like, oh yeah, check. Oh wait, that's not a good thing. Multiplying extraordinary prayer is facilitating, activating, and really observing others praying, like they're actually doing it. And if they're not, you're not multiplying, right? You're just actually encouraging people. And we all know this. We hear this all the time. We probably heard it every week in this series that I've just absolutely loved. That no movement of God is started without a prayer movement. One of the things I've learned is, so if you want to see a prayer movement, right, or you want to see a movement, you got to see a prayer movement. And don't think 100 people praying. Think at least 1,000 people praying. Now, getting 1,000 people to pray, you have to start thinking on a whole nother level, right? It can't just be, let's get 1,000 people, I mean, even 100. Like, how do you do that? And so I want to walk through a tool that's been really powerful for me. And Susie, this is the time. So I'm now responding to the message you sent me. This is the time where I want to just show you a 2-minute video, and then we're going to unpack it and really kind of have a discussion about what this would look like for you and your ministry. And I'll share a little bit about what I've learned as I've been living it out. It's been really powerful. We ready, Susie? And check this out. CDM stands for Contagious Disciple Making. And press play. Here we go. And we can't hear it, I don't think. Susie, you have to, or someone
got to share sound. Yeah.
You got to share the sound. Up in the, usually it's in the top. View, maybe the options.
The share the sound will be when you go to share the screen, there's a button down there where you click share the sound.
That's it. You're right. You're right. I share the screen. Hey, we actually did this on purpose. It's not that this is a momentum killer. We actually did this to show you that, hey, the goal is to not do the very best, because you want people, like when you're going to show this video to some others, that it doesn't go well, that's not a big deal. So yeah, this awkwardness is actually totally planned. Are we ready, Susie?
For others. That's where the prayer calendar comes in. This tool was designed to help you pray for people daily, encourage others, and develop deeper relationships. Here's how it works. Take a piece of paper and number it from 1 to 30. Beside each number, write the name of a Christian friend. Look at what day of the month it is and take 5 minutes to contact that day's person. If it's the 5th, contact the 5th person on the list. Call or text saying something like, "Hey, you're on my prayer calendar today." That means I'll be praying for you throughout the day. Is there anything specific you'd like prayer for? Then pray for them on the spot, whether in text or call. Repeat for the next day. If you want to be a disciple maker, develop a life of prayer. With the prayer calendar, you could be praying 150 to 300 minutes every month for 30 people. Before long, you will see the hand of God move at the urging of his children as they pray in obedience to his will.
Right on. Thank you. So if your goal is to multiply extraordinary prayer, this is a great first tool to think about it a little bit differently. And actually, there's two tools. So there's this prayer calendar where you do this with Christians and you go, I'm going to get 30 people, probably people that are not living out DMM right now, but that could be. And I'm going to pray for them once a month, and I'm going to reach out to them on that day, just like they just said. The other one is there's a video about it as well, a community prayer calendar, and that would be to also write down non-Christians in your life and do the exact same thing. So, hey, in my faith background, we believe prayer is a good thing, and you're important to me, and so I wrote your name down. Any way I could pray for you today. So, in the course of a day, I've got a prayer calendar like this. I've got a minimum of 2 names on my calendar. One is a person who's a Christian, who's probably not doing DMM right now. And then the other person is someone who isn't a Christian or not walking with God right now. And I asked them the exact same question. Now, here's the question I have for you guys with this. If you were to start doing this and you were to go, okay, so I got 2 lists of 30 people. I'm going to spend about 10 minutes a day doing this, having conversations with each of these people, either through a phone call or a text. What might happen? What could happen if you were to start doing that over the next 30 days? Can we just unmute and share like one answer? What are some things that could happen or might happen if you were to do that?
Jim, for the Christians, they might say, wow, that's a really great idea. I want to do that myself. And then you get the multiplication piece going. So
thanks, David. Yeah, that's great. Good.
Greater compassion for people.
Yeah, you actually know the needs of people. Wonderful. Thanks, Jim.
It'll become more contagious.
Okay. Yeah, just this idea. Yeah, more contagious. That's great. Thank you.
You get to celebrate answered prayers because now you're going to start hearing more about that.
How could you not, right? Yeah, you're going to have 60 prayers at least that week. So for sure, that's great.
You'll end up having more prayer support yourself.
Yeah. People might ask, and how can I pray for you? Yeah, you got people praying for you all the time. Great. What else?
You're making people feel important when they might not.
Wow. Yeah, that's huge, right? Yeah, people feel valued. Here's some things I wrote down. So first of all, you would pray for 60 people. And if it was 5 minutes a day, you kind of focus on each person. At the end of a month, that would be 5 hours of prayer, which is pretty awesome. Just thinking about that specifically for people. You would discover needs. And if they were lost, it'd be oftentimes opportunities, right? To be able to then go, man, I was thinking about you. And the next time you call them or later in the week, I have this story that I thought might encourage you. And man, you're sharing a Bible story with them. And I've learned this too, right? If you call somebody and say, I was thinking of you, isn't that one of the most encouraging things you can say to somebody? Right? One of the things you said, hey, made me think about, and because of that, I want to share this. So major opportunities for DMM. Someone shared, you'd see answered prayers. Someone else said this. They might respond, well, how can I pray for you? And if they're a Christian, which that's normally Christians are going to do that, you get to then share some disciple making prayer requests. And when I found, they go, what the heck are you doing? Like, because I'm sharing these disciple making things, and now there's vision casting that's going on. Your heart grows for these people more than you did before. So yeah, those are great ones. Here's my second question. Okay, so you did this, let's say for 30 or 60 days, those things happen. And then you turn to 5 people, you get to pick, and you challenge them over the next month to start this exact same practice and picking 5 Christians, 5 non-Christians, and to do this as well. Hey, what could happen if now you've got 5 other people and they live this out? What could happen over that time? Unmute, and it's okay to repeat with stuff we said before.
People are drawn closer to God instead of being drawn closer to people.
Fantastic, yeah.
You could potentially start a disciple making community that focuses on prayer.
Wow, yeah, that's great.
Instead of 5 hours of prayer, there's now 25 hours of prayer.
Yeah, and if you include your original 5, because you're not going to quit, it's actually 30, right? Yeah, that's awesome.
We're giving people an opportunity to really encounter God, and honestly, the possibilities are endless in a lot of ways.
Yeah. You've moved from 60 people that you prayed for to now 360 people were prayed for, right? I mean, just some multiplication stuff happening here. Hey, what would you have learned about the 5 people who actually did it? What truths would you have discovered about them if they actually did it?
There'd be someone I'd want to invest in because they've multiplied. They'd be worth investing in.
Yeah, that's great. Any other thoughts? What would you have learned about them?
They are probably people of peace because they are responsive.
Okay, well, these would be Christians, but people that are obedient, right? That are living it out. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I put, hey, these are people who obey. These are people who are willing to reach out. These are people who are willing to step out of their comfort zone. All right, last one, and then I'll stop with the questions. Okay, so then you turn to those 5 people, and you ask all of them, can you identify 5 people? And you're going to ask them, and to now cast the vision towards them. Hey, what could happen over that next month if that were to actually take place? I'm okay with repeating stuff, but just throw it out there. What could happen? What might happen? If you got a calculator, you're figuring stuff out, that's okay.
And this is even better than the Herbal Essence commercial. And I'll tell 2 friends, you tell 2 friends. We're telling 5 and 5. Growth would just be fabulous.
Yeah, okay.
And no, I don't have my calculator out for
okay. Okay, how about this? What would you learn about the people who cast the vision to 5 more people? What would you learn about them through that process?
Are they
They're
growing?
faithful. They go and do what you do. And so, yeah, they multiply your effort.
Okay, they multiply. Lily, what you're saying they're growing?
I was saying the same as he was saying, that we're basically
Same
growing
thing.
other
Okay, great, yeah.
disciples.
I mean,
Generating.
you would go, these are multiplying leaders, right? And if you have never talked to them about DMM up to this point, all you said is, you believe in prayer? You want to help people pray more? Man, you would go, okay, these are people that if I were to cast some vision to them about disciple making, they're ones that would catch it and they'd multiply it. And they probably would be even more open than they would have been 2-3 months earlier, because they'd be like, what do? I keep on coming in contact with these people. on the phone, that want God, and I'm trying to invite them to church and that's not working. Any thoughts, right? They'd actually be hungry for answers of, okay, what do I do now to respond with people? I did have a calculator and more time than you guys did. You'd have 130 hours of prayer or 4 hours of prayer a day on average for that month if you had just those people doing it. And there'd now be 1,560 people that would be prayed for. You guys catch this, right? That this is, if we're going, hey, we're going to multiply extraordinary prayer, it can't just be that I'm going to invite people to pray with me. That's a great thing. But here's what I found also, which is cool, is that if you're actually going to start somewhere, I would actually encourage you to start with getting people to do a prayer calendar. And what you'll find is they're now more open to joining the prayer gatherings because they're seeing God move, because they've got a list of stuff to pray for, because they want to be around other people. God's doing a work in them. And so if you're going, I have a hard time gathering people to come together, start with scattering them with praying in their own rhythms and their own times where that works. And then invite them to gather. Hey, can we get the people that are doing this together? And now they're more excited than they were before.